Hello, my name is Mungai, and I have only one question for you. Have you ever wondered what life will be like after campus? So, apparently, today I just want to address anyone that is in campus because I was there, and like all of us who went through campus, we all know that at some point it's like we just woke up one day, we were in campus, and we were almost finishing campus, and we had to make major decisions about our lives. We had to decide, that's a plane passing. We had to decide ASAP whether we are going to do the things we've studied in campus, or we are going to improvise our lives and do something else that we like doing. But either way, the plan was always to make money after campus. And if you're a man like me, you know that you really wanted to have your own space, live away from your parents, not because you don't like them, but because now, as a man, you feel like age kidogo imesonga and you really need to live this comfort of being provided for to a place where you can provide for yourself, pay your bills, and even possibly send some cash nyumbani, you know. And like I've had my African friends say, you send money to mom, she spits on it, some blessing, yeah, and more comes your way. Yeah, so I remember this was me in 2020, 2020, 2022. Yeah, 2022. And I remember that year was hectic. It was full of projects. I know that there's someone in first year, second year. Okay, I did a diploma. That's why it was a 3-year thing. So anyone else that is not in their final year doesn't really know how strenuous the projects can be. But it's crazy when every unit basically that you're doing is a project on its own. So you have like 7 consecutive projects going on back to back. And the other issue is you don't just have projects, you have projects which you have to collaborate on because they're group projects. So they can't be done on an individual basis per se, most of them. So you have to collaborate with the people in your group. You have to know, okay, if I'm shooting, then who is editing? If I'm editing, then who is doing A, B, C, D? And then who is coming up with a script? Who is coming up with what you guys are going to produce? And how are we going to pitch this idea that we already have as a group to the lecturer and get marks for it? And it's a marathon. When you pitch your first idea, the lecturer turns it down, and then like for the first semester of Tabia, we had to do a mock project that was going to now lead us into the final project of now the second semester, especially in TV production, whereby we had to shoot a documentary. And mind you, since first year, our year had been messed up with COVID. So a good part of second year, we never really interacted with cameras. So we are already in third year. We need to know how to use cameras. We need to know how to edit. We need to know how to do these things fast and on a deadline basis because everything is happening simultaneously. That was one of the roughest moments of our lives back then. It was rough, it was hectic, it was messy, it was giving anxiety, I was anxious. I think for the better part of my third year, I just felt like, hey, this is it for me. And I remember one of those days being in church. My sister had introduced me to a certain church that was apparently next to my school. So I remember going to church one of those Sundays, and they were asking anyone in the church to share during the service what was their highlight of the week or their low light. And I remember raising my hand up and saying, me, my low light is the worry that since I'm in third year and I'm in my final year, after this, I'm going back to Shags. So that means that for me and Nairobi, this might be it. This might be the end of me being in Nairobi. And I didn't really want to go back to Kitale because, hey, who wants to go back? Okay, unless you have something going on back at home, who wants to go back there? So I didn't have anything going on back at home. I didn't want to go and live with my parents. I wanted to be in a city where I had opportunities, and whatever I hoped to do was gonna work out for me. And yeah, it had really gotten me anxious. And I remember after that service, I was assured that I was going to do a paid internship with the church. That was so reassuring. And I remember being less tensed. And just now, life became a little bit more relaxing. But the pressure back in school was still there because at the end of the day, yes, they've said they're giving me internship. But when do I get a job? When do I get which job am I even gonna do after campus? And by then I've already figured out that I really like cameras. I don't want to do something that's aside from cameras. And mind you, I'm graduating around the same time when most TV stations are also kind of dwindling, and whatever income they were making, they're not making it anymore. So it's a matter of even these TV stations don't want to hire new people because unless you're bringing something to the table, that's another aeroplane in South Sea. Where? So apparently we're hearing stories of these TV stations that are popular and big and now getting rid of some of their employees because they no longer have the capacity to sustain their salaries, and people are getting warnings that by the end of the year you're not going to be a part of us, or even just being fired on this spot. I don't know the nitty gritty, but I just know that it was a time when uh, traditional media was dying and now people are going digital. And my 3-year plan back in campus was to blow up as a podcaster, and I hadn't been doing it consistently. So I remember being worried that I even go to Spotify, then I'm figuring out that Spotify isn't paying me. By then I've not even been consistent, so I've not even attracted anyone to ask me what I'm capable of doing for them. So yeah, it was really a stressing time of my life. I really got worried. I got worried about how life was gonna look like because coming out from outside Nairobi and then having to settle in Nairobi means I have to pay rent. Mind you, I don't even know where I'm gonna get a job. I just know that I'm gonna be on a stipend from this internship. So how am I gonna be able to cater for my other needs when I start to rely on myself? And yeah, and if you don't do something okay, I'm not saying that there is a perfect strategy of getting out of campus and being ready to live in Nairobi, but if you don't work towards something during your years in campus, it is possible that you get to the end and you get worried and stressed because you really know that there is nothing you're gonna do in Nairobi except go back to Ushago. And it's okay to go back to Shags if what you wanna do is there. But for those of us who don't wanna go back, some of the things I'll say is that learn a skill in campus. Learn a skill. It doesn't have to be what is taught in class. It can be a skill that you've just acquired on your own. Get a skill do something that will make you money. I remember I used to sell earphones, and I've shared this a couple of times on my podcast. I used to make money selling earphones, and the whole essence of me doing that was so that I can understand how money works, because I had already known that as long as you've not interacted with it at all, you're less likely to be trusted with more of it, because the Bible says that if you can be trusted with little, you can be trusted with more. So I wanted to work with the little I had back in campus and figure out what does it look like to save, to spend, and to use money wisely. And looking back right now, I wish I had some of the things I picked up the hard way, but I didn't do. But I wish I did was, I wish I saved money more. I wish I knew what a money market fund was back then, because my money would have grown in value by the time I was finishing campus. Because most of the money I made from my earphones, I feel like I spent it unwisely, except for the one where I bought the microphone that I used to record podcasts later on. But the rest of it, I felt like I really wasted it, and it wasn't wise. And I really, I would advise that you figure out the spending thing, that you use your any money you get from your parents or any handout you get, like a salary, and you ask yourself, you've been paid that amount of money, how are you going to spend it, so that by the time you're done with campus and you need capital, maybe to buy a camera or buy whatever it is, or invest in whatever business you have, and let's say that capital is like 100k, are you going to wait for your parent to give you the whole 100k, or are you going to have your own 50k to top up and fill in the 100k, or even have the 20 or 25k? Because maybe your parent is so willing to help you, and all they can offer you is less than by that margin. Are you going to be able to meet up that margin? And they'll tell you for free that it is, if I had been wiser about money, it would have been possible for me to have bought a camera from selling earphones, if I had been wise about money, if I had known what I know now about money. And you don't have to know the hard way. Now you know. I've told you that there is money market fund. I've told you that money accumulates, that however little it is you're making, you might be 19 right now as you're watching this podcast, but I'll tell you that if you can even save 200 shillings per month for the rest of your life until you're 25, you will not be unequal to someone who has never done anything in terms of not saving, because you will have developed a habit. Like just get a culture. But the 200 shilling is just an example. But from what I've heard from financial advisors, they say that don't save 200 a certain amount, save a certain percentage of your money. So I'm assuming that 200 is 200 shillings out of your, how much? Out of your 2k, that's like 10%. Yeah, 10% of whatever comes into your pockets in terms of handouts. If only you can save that, if only you can figure out how to multiply that, then by the time you're done with campus, it wouldn't be so worrying. Because my option B was getting a shop to sell electronics, but my passion was in film, camera, and this is what I'm doing right now. And I'm really glad that I get to live the life of my dreams. So what are you gonna do with the information I've given you? Feel free to reach out